Hi, I'm Dave Dunham with AirCo. So what happens on installation day? Probably more than you realize. So we're going to give you a preview in this video of what to expect the day your new system is installed. The most important day in the life of a home comfort system is the day it's installed. So what happens on installation day? Probably more than you realize. In this video, we will try to give you a preview of what to expect when your new system is installed. Most systems are made up of the same basic components, but every house is different. And of course, the needs of every homeowner vary widely also, and the process remains basically the same in every home, even though it may look drastically different in your home. This video will give you a good idea of what goes into installing one complete new system, either gas or electric, utilizing the existing ductwork. This normally takes one full day. If you are having only a part of your system replaced or having all of the ductwork replaced also, then the amount of time to do the job will change accordingly. You will want to plan to be home for the duration of the job. If you cannot be, then someone that is at least 18 years of age needs to be at the house. It is not uncommon for questions to come up during the course of the day. It is nice to have someone there to answer those questions. We understand that occasionally other arrangements need to be made. We will work with you as much as possible to minimize the disruption of your normal schedule. We know your pets are very important to you. We want them to be safe. So for their own safety, it is not good for them to be in the work area. If your pets like to run off when they have a chance, please help us prevent that from happening.
Thanks, sir.
The crew that will be installing your new system will be arriving at our warehouse early in the morning to load their truck with the equipment you specified and all the supplies that will be needed to install that equipment. Of course, there are unforeseen circumstances that will require additional items to be delivered from time to time. When the crew, typically 2 men, leaves the warehouse, they will call you and let you know about what time they will arrive at your house, barring any traffic problems. If they get hung up, they'll let you know. They will usually arrive between 8 and 9 o'clock. They will be driving a large box truck. It is well marked so that you and your neighbors won't need to be alarmed about a large truck parking in front of your house. Once they have arrived and introduced themselves and covered their shoes with floor savers, the lead man will want to review the work that is to be done by going over your proposal with you. He should have a copy. It is important that both you and the installers know exactly what you are expecting. Just in case some of the details you discuss with your replacement specialist didn't translate to the work order the crew has, they need to know, and the sooner the better. If there are any discrepancies between what you expect and the crew expects, they will contact the replacement specialist so that he or she can help get the details right. It is very important that everyone knows what is expected so that we avoid misunderstandings later on. The crew will want to know the best place to park that is convenient for you and has good access to the work areas. If the access is through the garage and it's okay for them to park in the driveway, you may want to move your car out in case you need to use it. While the apprentice is unloading the truck, the lead man will need a little tour. He needs to know where the access is for the indoor unit and the outdoor unit. He will need to know the location of the breaker panel, the thermostat, and the return air grills. It is also very important that you let him know of any rooms that may be too hot or too cold. If you are having any new ducts added, it is important that you and the installer know exactly where they are going to be located. We don't want you to be surprised, and we don't want to cut a hole in the wrong place. After having a look around, the lead man should be able to give you a general idea of how long the different stages of the job should take and about when it should be complete. When complete, the heating or cooling can begin immediately. Preparing the house for the work is the next step. To protect the floors, drop cloths will be put down on the floor where the crew will be traveling to and from the work area. It will not typically be necessary to turn off the power or the gas to the whole house, but sometimes the gas will need to be shut off for a short time. If that is the case, then any pilot lights that went out, usually in water heaters, will be relit. It is possible that the access to the equipment is too small to either get the old stuff out or the new stuff in, or both. It is not unusual for us to remove the pull-down stairs to the attic or remove some door trim on the furnace closet so that everything will fit. Don't worry, it will all be restored and look at least as good as it did before. You may want to move items hung on the walls or sitting on tables or in hallways, entryways, or any area that the crew is moving equipment through just to be on the safe side. There's nothing worse than having an heirloom fall on the floor and break when it could have been prevented. The crew will finish unloading the truck and unpacking the equipment. One of them will begin working on getting the outdoor unit disconnected. This will involve either isolating the refrigerant in the outdoor coil for later removal or recovering the refrigerant into a special cylinder to be recycled. He will also remove the existing pad that the unit was sitting on, if there is one, and if it's not a poured concrete pad. Then he will level the ground and install a new prefabricated reinforced concrete equipment pad. The other man will begin the process of removing the indoor equipment. This will involve disconnecting gas piping, flue piping, electrical wiring, and ducting. This may be a noisy process. He may also begin removing any duct that is going to be replaced. When he is done, both men will remove all of the old equipment out to the truck to be loaded up later. We take all of this old equipment to a recycler. Once all of the old equipment is out of the way, the work areas will be cleaned and organized so that the installation can begin. Now all of the new equipment can be taken to its proper locations. The tools and supplies that are needed will also be loaded into the attic or hall if there's room. The process of connecting the new outdoor unit will begin right away. The electrical wiring to power the unit and the control wiring will be installed. The refrigerant piping will be connected and welded. While that is going on, the new indoor unit will be put in place. If the indoor unit is in a closet, then the space below it serves as the return air plenum. This is called an upflow system because air flows up from the bottom of the furnace. The space under the unit will be completely sealed to prevent air from leaking in from anywhere that it shouldn't. A new floor will also be installed in the closet if possible. This is not always possible because there is often a water heater in the same closet and we can't take it out. If the unit is in the attic, it will be suspended from the rafters to isolate any vibration that may come from the unit. This will also provide good elevation so that the condensate drain will perform well. The coil will now be attached to the furnace. If the attic is hot, getting the cooling operational is a high priority, so the refrigerant lines will be connected and welded right away. After they are connected, then the lines will be pressurized to check for leaks. When it is verified that there are no leaks, then a vacuum pump will be connected at the outdoor unit to remove any air and moisture from the refrigerant lines. It is very important that they are clean. Once the vacuum pump has been running for at least 30 minutes and there are no leaks, it can be disconnected and refrigerant can be put into the system. Then the cooling can begin. Once the cooling is working, the crew will be able to put some cool air into the attic. Putting cool air in the attic allows the crew to work safely for longer periods of time without coming out of the attic to cool down. Now it's time to assemble and install the plenums. This also is a noisy process. These are the metal boxes that all of the ducting is connected to. They need to be airtight and insulated. All of the ducts will be attached to the plenums and the connections will be sealed. New ducts will also be supported with vinyl straps to provide a good path for easy airflow. The gas piping, flue piping, if a gas furnace, condensate piping, control wiring, and power wiring will all be connected. Any special controls like zone controls will be wired in. While one man is doing this work, the other one can be installing the new thermostat and cleaning up. Now it is time to fine-tune the refrigerant charge. This is very critical. To have the most efficient system possible requires the most efficient level of refrigerant. The temperature and pressure readings will be recorded for future reference. While one man tunes up the system to meet its peak efficiency, the other can be finishing the cleanup and loading all of the tools and supplies back into the truck. Now it's time for you to become familiar with your new system. Learning to operate the new thermostat is certainly something you will want to do right away. The lead man will help you with that. He will also have a checklist to review with you. He will show you the new equipment, how to change the air filter, things to watch for, and explain what to expect from your new comfort system. If you have any questions, please ask. When you have had a chance to inspect all of the work together, he will ask you to sign off on the checklist. If you have financed the project, then we will need your signature on a certificate of completion. If you are writing a check or using a credit card, this is when the lead man will want to collect payment. You will also have a comment card for you to complete and put in the mail. These comment cards are very important to us. We rely on our customers to spread the good word about our company. We realize that in order for that to happen, our customers must be comfortable and happy. We review all of the return cards to see if there are areas that we need to improve in. Your honest opinion is all we ask. The state of Texas and the city you live in require a building safety inspection of every system installation by a local building official called an inspector. To make this happen, we have purchased the required permit from the city. Each city has its own way of scheduling their inspections, but they all require an adult to be home when the inspector arrives. The inspection will only take a few minutes, and once the job is complete, usually the next day, our office will contact you to arrange a day to have the inspector come by. We understand that this may be an inconvenience, but it is for your safety and protection. Please also allow your replacement specialist to come by and make sure that everything looks great and all the work you expected has been completed. It is our great desire that you received everything you expected and then some. This is a perfect opportunity to ask any questions you may have about how the system is working, how to use the thermostat, getting even temperatures throughout the house, maintenance, and so on. They have a short survey to ask you about, and they will want to take some pictures of the finished product as well. Thank you for taking the time to watch our video. I hope it's been helpful. You know, no two homes or homeowners are exactly the same. But this should have given you a pretty good idea of what to expect on installation day. That is the most important day in the life of your new comfort system. Comfort has many faces. Our goal at AirCo is that you be comfortable before, during, and especially after the installation of your new comfort system. So when you're hot or when you're cold, think AirCo. We bring comfort home.